Hi, and welcome to another episode of Travel Talk with Selling Travel. Today, I'll be speaking to Chris Crampton, Chairman at the Pacific Asia Travel Association, UK and Ireland, about their recently released Travel Patterns Report for 2022. Hi, Chris, how are you today? Thank you for joining me.
Very well. Yourself?
Good, thank you. Very excited to hear more about your report. So just to kick off, what is the purpose of this report and why are you releasing it now?
Obviously, the last 2 years have been pretty grim for everybody. And as we were starting to show signs of coming out of it, we wanted to talk to people within the industry, our membership, and the people who participate in our events, and see how they felt about what was coming, what the likely patterns were going to be, and the trends were going to be, as people started to look to travel again to our region.
Brilliant. And, just having kind of had a look through and seen what the top trends are, one of the things that jumped out at me is that you've got sort of one trend saying that travelers are really ready to splash the cash now after a long travel hiatus. But then another one of the trends is also that there's a group who very much need to stick to a strict budget. What could you recommend some new options for both those different types of budgets and groups?
It's an interesting dynamic as we've seen ourselves within the travel sector, that in other roles who've managed to maintain their income and carry on working throughout. And then we've had the travel sector itself, where things have been decimated and jobs lost and income dropped. So you can see that there's a real split in terms of the kind of people out there looking for travel and what they can do. So to that extent, you can see that divergence between people who do have a significant income, but also those who aren't able to and are very much looking to go on a budget. So in terms of like splashing the cash, those types of people have got both pent-up demand personally that they want to travel, and they also have a fairly significant budget because they've not been spending money quite so much over the last couple of years. So for those, it could be the lifetime experience, going to places that they haven't been to before, upgrading their hotel, or going for something which is new and different, that they can go to see various of the places and have the experiences without having the crowds. And that's a real opportunity, which is unlikely to happen again. So whatever it might be that somebody wants to go and do, they have this chance to go there without having hordes of tourists for the bucket list opportunities. But also you have with the slight change in the way that it has operated within the travel sector. You also have at the other end of the equation, properties and experiences that are desperate for business. And it is difficult to pick up a single pattern because it's so divergent depending on what the destination is and what the ability to pay of the traveler is. But there is very much something for both sides of that, depending on what that budget is.
Brilliant, thank you. And how can agents capitalize on the growing trend towards family and multi-generational holidays, which is another trend you've identified? So in terms of celebrating a big occasion or things that they can upsell?
There's two lines to that, really, in that there is the desire of the individual travelers to want to do these multi-generational, and then at the other end, in terms of the destination, because you have the potential for properties to gear themselves and experiences to gear themselves around having people within bubbles. So there is, again, that opportunity for people who want to take advantage of that to go in terms of apartment properties, villa properties, within hotels or without, within sites, within experiences, to have that together, and also to be away from other people should they so desire that. Now, on a purely personal level, that I am very much a social kind of person, so I would want to be with others and experience that. But I am just one person, and lots of other people want that family unit integrated together and to experience it all themselves. And because of the COVID concerns and because of the rules that you have in different countries, all of a sudden that is something for that. But at the other end, people are now looking to directly market to experience that and to bring people who want that multi-generational, family orientated holiday, and have everybody together in that environment. It is something which it's always been there, but now because of COVID, it has come to the fore much more than it did before, and also because people haven't been traveling. So now you have people who are all together and all want to go at the same time. So even in their own family structure and family environment, they're now talking about, why don't we go together?
Yeah, absolutely. And following on from what you've just said, naturally, in conjunction with this need for like space, outdoor spaces because of COVID, well-being is also becoming more important, is mentioned in the report. But I mean, how has this demand changed? What are consumers looking for now, and what products can agents recommend to them?
Well, some of the hotels have moved down that line, precisely because, and a similar issue to my last answer, that if people are looking for something which is health and well-being, and not just within the COVID environment, but it perhaps has highlighted that priority more than was the case in times past. So some hotels have gone down that particular route and started to look at offering wellness packages to a greater extent than they did. Now, wellness can encompass a whole range of things, and it depends again on people's budget and on their desires. But it could be from a spa experience perspective, or it could be more integrated than that in terms of having a wider, whether it might be on a food basis or on an experience basis, which again adds to a wellness attitude and approach. Now, we are seeing, particularly in Asia, Australia perhaps will be to come as that opens, but we are seeing an emphasis on that wasn't there before. I mean, I know that the Mangosteen, for example, an Ayurveda wellness place in Phuket, for example, is reporting a much greater interest than used to be the case.
Brilliant. And Phuket is absolutely lovely destination. I
It
might
is.
add.
It's about time we all got back there, don't you think?
Yeah, absolutely. And so I think the other big trend you've identified as well is clients who want to travel for good. You know, they want to feel like they've left a positive an impact on the destinations that they're visiting. What kind of things are out there for that kind of traveler who wants to be more conscious, and also opportunities for them to give back?
Well, that is a particularly important element. I think it's one that's quite close to my heart, partly because of my frustration at seeing the way that the impact on people in often less affluent countries hasn't been picked up as much as maybe it could have been, and certainly the way that minds have turned a little bit inward in terms of in terms of what's happening in our country is not necessarily reflected in how it has been in other countries where they haven't had the support and the wealth. So traveling at all to these places and spending your money in the local economy is in itself a good positive message to have, and it's something that we in the travel industry have not necessarily been that good at getting across, to that travel can be in and of itself a force for good, raising people out of poverty, increasing affluence and well-being in the destination country. So that is on its own an important thing. Now, where you choose to go is a second level to that. Sustainability and above all else, emphasizing your wish to add to the well-being of a destination means that you can spend your money on experiences, on projects in a particular country, in a particular destination, a particular area, whether that country might be a wealthier one or a less wealthy one, is also something that you can still do wherever it might be. Wildlife, for example, has always been one example. There are all sorts of issues in terms of morality of different parts of it. And the one thing which I would not do, and I would never do, is try to give a firm answer as to what is right and what is wrong. But the importance to the individual when they travel and what they are going to see is something which has definitely grown. How people are spending their money, where they are choosing to spend their money. And in terms of what they can do, there are so many tour operators who work with us and experiences and attractions who are all focusing on that. So check out the one before you go. What is their policy? What are they seeking to do? What is their aim in terms of what they're trying to get to? And then the customer can decide for themselves if that's something that they wish to support.
Brilliant. And just going back to this idea of sort of nature and being away from crowds, is there anything new that's sort of off the beaten track, or things that might not be sort of as well known to travelers and to agents yet?
Well, for Thailand, you have Phetchaburi Province is joined the UNESCO Creative Cities Network, or also for UNESCO, you can go to Yamburu, which is on Okinawa. In Japan, there are e-bike eco tours. Around Cambodia, they are improving the sustainability of the big attractions such as Angkor. Everywhere you go, you could now find somewhere which is looking to do something like this.
Brilliant. Well, that's very good news for sustainable and conscious travel. So just lastly, you've said at the end of the report that travel agents are going to be absolutely crucial in holiday bookings going forward because of the confidence that they inspire and their wealth of knowledge. Can you sort of expand on that a bit more, and also say a bit more about how you're going to be supporting them?
Well, first of all, let me throw it back to you. What are the COVID entry rules for every single travel destination in Asia and South Pacific? Any idea?
No, I couldn't possibly.
Nor have I. Nor have I, because I'm not a travel agent and I don't do it. And so if I am looking to do something like this myself and yourself, and we both work in the travel industry, then who do we go to approach and talk? And they change on a daily basis, and it depends where your passport is from, and everything else that goes with it. Now, the travel agent is the front line of the people who can answer that question. Now, again, they can't possibly know for every single destination, but they are the ones who can provide that level of information and confidence to the customer and the consumer that they can't necessarily find themselves. Now, honestly, I have spent time reading through the regulations for different countries, and it's not easy to get your head around. So I have sympathy for them because they have to do that same sort of thing. But imagine what that's like for a consumer who doesn't necessarily know themselves. So because of COVID, is that the added layer of complexity in travel has meant that travel industry professionals, whether they be travel agents, tour operator, reservation staff, or anybody else, they were before, not because they now know more than they did, because they always did know this stuff, but because the public have suddenly realized that they need a professional. Now, we have professionals in all sorts of walks of life, and I don't fix my car myself. I take it to a garage because they know more than me. And getting across to the general public that in travel, with an increasingly complex world, your equivalent of that is going to a tour operator or a travel agent and talking to them and letting them go through and work it out for you. It has become so important.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And to any travel agents watching, there you go. You're invaluable. So thank you for everything that you do. Chris, it's been lovely talking to you and finding out more about this report. I've had a quick look, but I can't wait to read it in more detail. And I'm sure everybody watching will want to do the same. So thank you so much for your time.
And give us feedback. We'd love to hear feedback from people. Different experiences, different comments. Let us know.
Absolutely. Thank you so much and have a wonderful day.
You too.